Our next speaker is a member of the Duluth Public Schools Innovation Team. She loves the outdoors, counting down the days of winter until the water starts rushing for some spring kayaking and the trails dry to get her back on her mountain bike. With her story, Brushing Off the Dirt, please welcome Danielle Magnuson.
All right, I'm really excited to be the first one to use note cards. The words are not sticking, so I'm glad I had John's speech before. All right, my story starts back in 2008 when I had just started dating this guy named Jeff. That's him in the bear suit. He's also way up there. Everything was going great, except he was always going on all these adventures without me. On weekends, he'd be camping or hiking or kayaking. I didn't own a sleeping bag, I didn't own hiking boots, and I definitely didn't own a kayak. On weekdays, he'd take off on his mountain bike for hours at a time. I also didn't own a bike. Now, oddly enough, I grew up camping and biking and canoeing, but then college happened. I made new friends and strayed away from doing anything outdoors. I started to enjoy going to concerts, cooking, and watching TV. Lots and lots of TV. After finishing college, every day was the same. Go to work, take Lucan for a walk, cook a fancy pasta dish, and sit on the couch for the evening. I knew all the best shows: Grey's Anatomy, Desperate Housewives, Private Practice, and if there wasn't anything good on, I could always resort back to America's Funniest Home Videos. Still have a special place in my heart with that show. I was learning very quickly that this adventurous guy I was dating wasn't keen on the sluggish lifestyle I had gotten used to. He thought that Meredith Grey was whiny and annoying, and he wasn't the pasta lover that I was. He lived to be outdoors, and I lived to be, well, lazy. This is where my brilliant idea came in. I had to buy a bike. I mean, how hard could mountain biking really be? I basically grew up on a bike. My cousins and I would be gone for hours on end, cruising the streets of my tiny hometown. But Jeff would love it if I mountain biked with him every day. So I went out and bought a bike. Do you know how much a decent starter mountain bike costs? Yeah, neither did I. I rode so many bikes around the Shields parking lot at the Mankato Mall on decision day. Jeff insisted that I buy the red $350 bike. He didn't want me spending too much money because he thought that I wouldn't like the sport and I wouldn't stick with it. What you should know about me, though, is that I'm incredibly stubborn, especially when I'm told I can't or won't do something. So I decided that the $800 bike was the perfect fit. But let's be honest, I mostly bought it because it was really pretty blue. Here's where the story gets interesting. I had a vision that I'd get out on the trail, hop on my pretty blue bike, and race behind Jeff through the woods. What really happened was something completely different, though. I couldn't even make it up the tiniest of hills. Instead, I'd have to dismount from that pretty blue bike over and over and over again. I was pushing it up those tiny mounds of dirt. By the second or third hill, I was starting to wonder what I had gotten myself into. I was sweating profusely and breathing like I had just sprinted up the hundreds of flights of stairs at the historic Old Central High School. Some of you may know how that feels. The downhills were exhilarating, though, weaving back and forth on the single track, keeping my eyes on the path ahead of me, not needing to pedal, finally being able to catch my breath. I was actually doing pretty well on the downhills, and my confidence was soaring. After one particularly grueling climb, and by climb, I mean pushing my bike up the hill, I rounded a corner and saw the biggest downhill I had encountered yet. As I headed down, I noticed the hill was unlike the others. It was pretty steep, and it had pretty big curve. Also, it was obvious that people had been horseback riding on it because it was really rutted up. But remember, my confidence was soaring from all the downhills. I had only been mountain biking for an hour in my entire life, but I had these downhills. I was so confident that I could do it. The downhills were my thing, and they were my thing until my front tire hit a huge tree root. Before I knew it, I was face down in the dirt with the wind knocked out of my lungs and with that pretty blue bike on top of me. Jeff, who had slowed down to a snail's pace, also known as his newbie girlfriend's pace, had seen it all happen and was by my side in an instant. My first thoughts were, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. Then, take a deep breath, you've got it, Danielle, hold it together. Jeff took the bike off the top of my body, and I silently rolled over to assess the damage. I still hadn't said anything out loud to assure Jeff that I was okay, but the dialogue in my head continued. Don't cry, don't cry, don't be a baby. Mom always said that if there's no blood, you're fine, get back up. Wait, there is blood. I slowly got up, exhausted, bloody, dirty, ready to throw that stupid blue bike into the trees and hike myself out of the woods. Jeff could see the tears welling up in my eyes as he very quietly told me that we were only halfway through and we still had a couple miles to go. I was devastated, but I brushed myself off, straightened my helmet, gave my best I've got this smile, and slowly climbed back on my bike. There were more downhills, down trees to go over, a stream crossing. Yeah, we actually had to ride through a real wet, flowing stream. There may have been a few choice words being mumbled on my end too. But then we rounded another corner and I saw the parking lot. I had never been so happy to see a parking lot. I had survived. At that moment, Jeff looked back at me and asked, "Want to do another lap?" No. Now, some of you are probably thinking, that's it, Jeff left her in the dust and she gave up mountain biking for good. Well, since this is a story, or a talk about learning, let me continue. That day, I learned a lot about myself and about mountain biking. I learned that 1, I'm much more stubborn than I initially thought. I was determined to get back out there and show that trail who was boss. And 2, that learning how to mountain bike was going to be much more challenging than just racing behind Jeff in the woods. In the days and months following my first eye-opening mountain bike ride, I rode that blue bike every single day. I'd go to Mount Cato, zigzag slowly, very, very slowly, up the front of that ski hill, and then I would do some thrilling descents on the back side of it. I was getting better and better every single day. I even tried my hand at a race and didn't come in last place. As they say, practice makes perfect. I was at a point where I could ride an entire trail without getting off my bike and walking. So of course, that seemed like the perfect time to throw a wrench in all my progress. In 2012, Jeff and I decided to move to Duluth. I thought I had it made. Have you heard about the mountain bike trails here in Duluth? Yeah, I didn't think so. No one in this town ever talks about our mountain bike trails. Coming from a mostly flat southern Minnesota town to a very hilly and very rocky northern Minnesota town, my skill level went back to beginner status. I went from being a confident rider back to that girl that was coming home bloody and bruised with mascara running down her face because she just threw a big tantrum after her 3rd crash of the day. That pretty blue bike was getting destroyed from all the crashes. That first spring that we moved here, I was about ready to call it quits with this silly sport. Then I came home on my birthday, May 6th, if anybody wants to take note. Jeff was in the garage. He was being a little sneaky, and he told me not to come in, but stubborn, remember? I busted in, and there was a beautiful new full suspension bike and a smiling boyfriend shouting, "Happy birthday!" Stubborn and spoiled. That's definitely me. I suddenly had a renewed interest in getting back on some single track. I'd love to say that the new bike made me faster, made me fly down bigger drops, climb steeper hills, all of which I did, but it wasn't just because I had a brand new bike. It was because I had the confidence to get back out there and because I had the support of someone who believed in me. Jeff had become my #1 cheerleader and my favorite riding buddy. Over the last couple years, mountain biking has changed my life. I've attended multiple skills clinics because I'm constantly striving to be a better rider. I've organized and led women's group rides in town. I've helped coach clinics. I've volunteered countless hours with our local mountain biking club. Best of all, I've met some of the most amazing people and have made some lifelong friends through this sport. Some days are still hard. Some days I still have to get off my bike and walk. Some days nothing feels right and I get so angry at myself. On those days, I often have to walk my bike off the trail and try again a different day. I still end up covered in blood and dirt more often than I'd like to admit, but I keep pushing myself to be a better rider. In the end, it's all about getting back up, brushing off the dirt, and trying again. And now, I can proudly say that I can finally just go out and race behind Jeff in the woods and actually keep up. Thank you.